Come close. My child, you have been standing in a winter and calling it the end of your story. You have looked at the bare branch, the cold ground, the long silence, and you have wondered if anything green will ever return. But my word says in Song of Solomon 2:11-12, "For lo, the winter is past, the rain is over and gone, the flowers appear on the earth." Your winter is not forever. The season changed, but I did not. I stayed. And right now, as these words reach you, I want that ancient promise to settle over the part of your life that has gone quiet. Come closer than the cold has let you come. There is nothing you have to thaw on your own before you are allowed to be here. I am not waiting for you to feel hopeful before you draw near. I'm asking you to draw near while the ground still looks bare, while the branch still looks dead, while you are still doing the quiet math of everything that has not bloomed. You do not have to dress the field before you bring it to me. Bring it the way it is, frost and all. The honest winter is closer to me than the pretended spring. I have been with you through more seasons than you have counted. I was there in the harvest, you remember. The one where the table was full and the laughter came easy, and you did not have to work to believe that life was good. I was there in the long autumn after, when the color started leaving and you told yourself it was only a phase, that the warmth would circle back around, the way it always had. And I have been here in this barren-looking place too, in the part of the year of your life that nobody posts and nobody envies, the part where you keep going mostly out of habit because you have forgotten what else to do. The warmth changed, but I stayed. That is the first thing to settle in you before anything else moves. I see the particular shape of your cold, and I am not going to talk about it in general terms, because your winter is not general. It is specific, and you have been carrying the specifics alone. The single one of you who set the second place at the table out of old habit, and then quietly put the plate back before anyone could see. The parent who watched a child grow distant the way the light grows short in the late part of the year, a little less each day until the room felt darker, and you could not point to the exact moment it happened. The one of you who used to pray with a kind of certainty and now barely whispers, because somewhere along the line, hope started to feel like a thing that only sets you up to be let down again. I notice the person who looks at the calendar and counts how many seasons this has gone on now, and feels something tighten in the chest at the number. There is the one who has stopped telling people how the waiting is going, because the answer never changes, and you got tired of the look on their faces. You used to have a whole life of plans, and now you mostly try to get through the week. None of that is small to me. None of it is invisible. I have not been reading your winter from across a field, the way someone glances at a forecast and moves on. I have been standing in it with you, close enough to feel exactly how long it has gone on, close enough to know the difference between the cold you complain about and the cold you have stopped mentioning. You have been brave in a way you have not given yourself any credit for. You kept showing up to a life that stopped giving back the way it used to. The lamp stayed lit in a house that went quiet, and you were the one who kept it burning. You set one foot down after the other on days when there was no warmth waiting at the end of them to make it worth it. That is not nothing. The world tends to celebrate the people standing in their obvious spring with their arms full of bloom, and it walks right past the ones who simply did not quit in the cold. I do not walk past them. I noticed every frozen first light you got up into anyway. I counted them, but listen carefully. Winter is not a verdict. Let me tell you what I have noticed about the way the cold tries to rewrite a person. It does not only freeze the field, it freezes the memory. After a long enough stretch, you begin to suspect that the harvest you remember was a fluke, that the warmth was borrowed, that the good seasons happened to other people who deserved them, and you were only allowed to visit. Winter is a liar that way. It convinces you that the cold is the truest thing about your life, and the warmth was the exception. So you brace. You stop expecting. you build your whole posture around the assumption that nothing good is really coming, because that way the cold can never surprise you again. I understand exactly why you learned to live like that. It was a way to survive a season that went on too long, but you do not have to live braced forever. The bracing was for the storm. The storm is not the last word, and there is a quieter cost you have been paying that you may not have named. When you decided the warmth was gone, you also, very slowly, stopped looking for it. You stopped scanning the horizon. You taught yourself not to hope, because hope had started to feel like a setup. And so even the small signs of the turn, the faint ones, the early ones, have been passing you by, because a person who has trained themselves to expect only winter will not notice the first warm wind, even when it touches their face. I want to retrain your eyes before this message is over. Not so you can manufacture a spring, but so you can recognize one when I bring it. Here is where the cold has been lying to you. You have picked up a weight in this waiting that was never meant for you to carry. You have started to believe that because the season changed, I changed. You have read the bare field as a verdict against you. You have looked at the closed gray sky and decided that it must mean I closed too, that my face turned away the same week the warmth did. And that is the part that is not true. And I love you too much to let you keep hauling it through one more cold week as though it were the truth. Where did that idea come from? Because it did not come from me. The picture of me you have been holding was painted in a hard season, by hands that meant well or did not. Somebody handed you, without ever quite saying it out loud, a God whose nearness was tied to your weather. A God who was pleased and present when things bloomed, and who stepped back, arms folded, when things froze, either to teach you a lesson or to wait until you somehow earned your way back into spring. The version of me you inherited comes and goes with your circumstances. He shows up when the harvest is good and disappears when the frost sets in. So now, when the cold comes, the very first thing you brace for is my absence. You have been weathering your winters twice over, once for the cold itself and once for the loneliness of assuming I had gone. That is not who I am. Read this slowly, because it is the thing the cold cannot survive. I am not a fair weather father. I do not love you in the growing season and abandon you in the frost. The same hand that warmed your summer is the hand resting over your winter right now. My presence is not seasonal. It does not migrate when the days get short, the way the birds do. It does not wait out the storm somewhere warmer and come back when the worst is over. The God who feels far away in the cold is not the real one. He is a shadow the long silence cast across your thinking, and a shadow does not get to define the one who made the light that throws it. Hear the difference, because your peace lives inside it. A shadow has no warmth of its own and no will of its own. It only exists because something solid is standing in the way of the light. The cold God you have been afraid of is exactly that kind of shadow. He has no substance. He was cast over you by old wounds and old teaching and long frozen nights, and you mistook the shape on the wall for me. But I am not the shadow. I am the one standing in the light, unmoved by your weather, near to you in the exact measure your waiting is long. The season shifted, but my love stayed. Let me be honest with you about something. The way a father is honest with a child, he has carried a long way. I did not stay near you in this cold season because you made it easy. There were stretches where you blamed me for the bareness, where you went quiet on me, where you decided in your heart that I had failed you and you were not entirely wrong to be angry, because the loss was real and I never asked you to pretend it was not. And through every bit of that, I did not pull back. A love that only stays when it is thanked is not much of a love, and that is not the kind I have for you. I stayed in the silence. I stayed through the blame. I stayed on the nights you were sure I had gone. The father who stood in your summer stayed in your winter. My nearness was never a reward you were earning by behaving well in the cold. It was simply the truth, whether you felt it or not, the same way the sun is still there above a clouded sky, whether or not a single ray reaches the ground. And that is the thing the gray stretch most wants you to forget. The clouds are real, but they are not the sky, and they are certainly not the sun. There were whole weeks where you could not feel a single warm thing, and you took that absence of feeling as proof of my absence. But feeling is a thermometer, not a verdict. It tells you the temperature of your day. It does not tell you the truth about who is standing beside you. I have been beside you on the days you felt me, and on the days you felt nothing at all, and I was no less present on the empty days than on the full ones. The cold can take a great many things from you. It was never able to take me. Stays is not a feeling. It is who I am toward you. Do not confuse bareness with barrenness. Notice the order of how I actually work, because once you see it, it will steady you on the coldest days. I am not surprised by your winter. I did not promise you a life of unbroken summer and then failed to deliver it. I built the year with seasons in it on purpose, and I built your life the same way. The field that lies bare in the cold is not a field that failed. It is a field that is resting, holding, doing the hidden slow work that only ever happens when the surface looks like nothing is happening at all. Bareness is not the same thing as barrenness. A resting field and a ruined field can look completely identical to a tired eye on a gray afternoon. And that is the whole problem. You have been calling a resting season a ruined one. And the distance between those two words is almost the entire distance between despair and peace. Here is the plain truth of it. The cold did not cancel the field. The cold is part of how the field gets ready. There is a work that warmth cannot do, that only the quiet and the cold and the waiting can do, deep down where you cannot watch it. You have been standing over that field demanding to see proof of life, and reading the lack of visible proof as the absence of any life at all. But I am not absent from what is hidden. The hidden is where I do some of my best and most patient work. Think of what the cold actually does to the orchard. The grower who knows the land does not panic when the branches go bare and the trees stop putting out fruit. He knows the trees need the cold. There is a kind of strength and a kind of sweetness that only forms in a tree that has been through a real winter, a depth the easy seasons could never give it. The cold is not punishing the tree, it is preparing it. The same is true of you. The depth you have now, the compassion you carry for other people in their own barren-looking places, the way you can sit with someone in their grief without flinching because you have known your own, none of that grew in your summer. It grew right here, in the part of your life that looks asleep. I have not been wasting your waiting. I have been forming something in it that warmth alone could never have made. A season has a boundary. A sentence does not. And that one difference changes everything about where you are standing. Rest your hand on your throat for a moment, gently, where your voice begins, where the words form before you ever speak them. Feel the small warmth of your own breath passing under your palm. Even now, in the part of you that feels frozen all the way over, something is still warm. Something is still moving. The cold never reached all the way down. It only got as far as the surface, the way it always does. Let your hand stay there a moment longer and feel the simple fact of it. The life in you did not stop just because the season did. You are still breathing. You are still here. That warmth under your hand is small, but it is yours, and I am the one who keeps it lit. Now let me tell you why I can promise you the turn of the season and not be telling you a comforting lie. I want to read you a sentence I had written down a very long time ago, in a love song, of all the places I could have put it. Not a battle cry, not a list of rules. A song, sung between a lover and the one he had come back for after a hard, cold stretch of being apart. There was a longing all through it, the kind you know in your own chest. the ache of waiting for something good to finally come back around. And right into the middle of that ache, these words came, the way the first warm wind comes after a month of frozen ground. I did not write this for the people who never had a winter. I wrote it for the ones who were certain theirs would never lift. I wrote it slowly, on purpose, so that thousands of years later, a tired person standing in a cold season they could not explain would be able to lean their whole weight on it and find that it held. So lean on it now. These are the words from the Song of Solomon, chapter 2, verses 11 and 12. For lo, the winter is past, the rain is over and gone. The flowers appear on the earth, the time of the singing of birds is come. Sit with that picture before you move on. Do not rush past it to get to the part where you feel better. Let the words go in slowly, one at a time, the way warmth comes back into cold hands. For lo, the winter is past. Not the winter is being carefully managed. Not the winter might lift a little if you try harder and pray better. It is past, spoken the way I speak over a thing that is already settled in my sight, even while your own eyes are still looking at frost on the window. That is how I see your season. Finished, even as you are still standing in it. Hear the next line, where I name the rain too, not only the cold. The heavy gray that soaked everything and would not let up. The season that made you forget what warm even felt like, until you started to wonder if you had imagined that it was ever warm at all. That downpour has ended. It will not be coming back to drown this field again. 2 short words I used for it, and I did not stretch them out, because a thing that is truly finished does not need a long speech. It just needs to be named as finished by the one who has the authority to say so. And then watch closely what comes next, because this is the part that fear never tells you, the part fear hides from you on purpose. Out of that same ground, flowers. They do not push up through the soil because the earth strained and groaned and finally squeezed them out by force of will. They appear because the season turned, and when the season turns, the ground does what the ground was always going to do the moment the cold released its grip. Do you hear it? You've been trying to force flowers out of frozen ground by sheer effort. You have been exhausting yourself, shoving against a season, and then taking the exhaustion as proof that nothing will ever grow again. But the flowers were never waiting on your effort. They were never yours to manufacture into being. They were waiting on the change of season, and the thaw was never yours to force. The turn is mine to give. That is the weight off your shoulders right there, if you will let yourself set it down. You are not the one who has to make the spring come. You never were. You could not make the first light arrive by staring hard at the horizon, and you cannot make the spring arrive by gripping the winter harder. Your striving was never what the field was waiting on. It was waiting on me, and I am not slow, and I am not stingy, and I have never once forgotten a single field I planted. The time of the singing of birds is come. The birds do not sing in order to make the spring arrive. They sing because it already has. Their song is not the cause of the season. It is the evidence of it. And one of the kindest things I want to do for you in the days ahead is to move you, gently, from straining to make the spring come, to simply noticing that it has already begun, and letting a song rise up in you that is the evidence of the turn and not the desperate effort to force it. I would so much rather hear you sing because spring is coming than watch you exhaust yourself trying to drag it here by hand. The thaw does not begin when you feel warm. It begins when I speak over the season. And this turning is as sure as the one thing you have never once seen fail, as sure as the dawn. Think about it. You have never in your whole life watched a night that simply did not end. You have never seen the dawn lose its appointment with the horizon because the dark argued hard enough that it should be allowed to stay. However long the night, the light has never missed. Not once. And I want you to put your hope in me with that exact same kind of trust. The unremarkable, certain trust you already place in the daybreak, without anyone ever having to ask you to. You do not lie awake genuinely afraid the sun will refuse to come up. That is the kind of trust I am inviting you into. I will come to you as surely as the day breaks. I will come to you like the spring rain that softens the hard winter ground and makes the whole long frozen field ready to receive. That kind of coming is not in question. It has never been in question. It is only ever a matter of the turning, and the turning is already underway. I once said, through one of my prophets to a worn-out people who were sure I had given up on them, that my going forth to them was as certain as the first light, and that I would come to them like the rain, like the latter rain that waters the earth before the harvest. I want you to hear that as said to you in your cold. Press on to know me. Keep walking toward me even when you cannot feel a thing, because my coming to you is not as fragile as your feelings about it. It is fixed, like the rising of the sun. The dawn does not consult the night about whether it is welcome. It simply comes on time, every time, with a faithfulness so reliable that you have stopped even being amazed by it. That is the faithfulness I am bringing to your winter. And notice that I name two kinds of coming, not one: the dawn and the rain. The first light is the proof that the dark was always temporary, but the rain, the latter rain, is the soft, soaking water that comes right before things ripen, the gentle finishing of a long season of growth you could not see. I am both of those to you. I am the light that ends the long night, and I am the quiet rain that finishes the hidden work and brings the field all the way to harvest. You will not have to strain to receive either one. The daybreak does not ask the field to climb up to meet it. The rain does not ask the ground to reach up and pull it down. They come. They simply come. And so will I. The Father who stayed is the proof the winter did not win. Look back now at what I said when we began. I told you that the winter you are standing in is not the end of your story, that the season is not the final verdict over your life. Here is why I could say that to you. Because I am the one who turns the seasons, and I have already spoken over your winter the very same word I spoke in that ancient song. It is past. Even while you feel the cold of it on your skin, it is passing. The frost on the branch in front of you is not the truth about the branch. The truth about the branch is the spring already written into it, the bloom already promised inside the bare wood, the turn already on its way from a hand that has never been late to a season in the history of the world. And here is the deepest thing, the thing I most need you to hold, the thing this whole message has been carrying you toward. The promise I am making you is not first about your circumstances. I know what you want the spring to look like. I know the specific door you want opened, the relationship you ache to see mended, the provision you want to finally arrive, the diagnosis you want changed, the call you want to come. And I am not careless with any of it. None of it is beneath my attention. But the spring I am most certain of, the one that nothing in heaven or earth can cancel or delay, is not a change in your outward weather. It is my presence with you straight through the change. It is the warmth of being kept. It is belonging to me. It is being held by a Father who simply does not leave when it gets cold. That spring has already come to you. That one is not waiting on a single circumstance to shift. The rest of it unfolds in its own proper season, and I will be faithful in every part of it. But the deepest flower is already up out of the ground, and it is this: you are not alone in your winter, and you never once were. And I want you to see where that certainty was anchored, so it can hold the full weight you are about to lean on it. My son entered the deepest winter of the world. He stepped into rejection, silence, darkness, and the grave itself. And even there, my love did not leave. The stone was rolled away not because the winter was imaginary, but because winter never had the final word over him. So it will not have the final word over you. The proof that your bare branch will bloom again is not a feeling you have to work up on a gray afternoon. It is a tomb that could not stay shut. The cold did its worst to my son, and the cold lost. And because it lost there, it is already lost over you. So here is something small you can carry with you, not as another task to perform, but as a quiet way through the rest of your week. When the cold thought comes, the one that says this will last forever, place one hand gently on your throat, feel the warmth of your own breath, and say, "The winter is past. He stays." You do not have to fight the thought with a whole sermon. You do not have to win a debate with it. You may not believe it the first time you say it. You may not feel a single degree warmer the 10th time. But somewhere around the 30th time, while you are doing something ordinary, you will notice that you said it without flinching. And then you will notice that you half believe it, and the season inside you will already have begun to turn while you were not even watching it happen. That is usually how the thaw comes. Quietly, from the inside, before the outside catches up. And here is one more thing you can do, even smaller than the first if you want it. There is an old line in my word that says there is a time for everything, a season for every purpose under heaven. Most people read it and feel only the weight of it, the part about there being a time to weep and a time to lose. But there is mercy buried in that sentence, and I would have you dig it out. If there is a time for everything, then your winter has a boundary. It has a beginning, and it has an end, because it is a season and not a sentence. A sentence has no expiration. A season always does. Your winter had a boundary. My presence did not. So the next time the cold tries to convince you that this is permanent, you can quietly remind it that it is only a time, and a time always passes into the next time, and the one who set the order of the seasons did not skip yours. He never has. He never will. Breathe in slowly through your nose, and then let the air back out through your mouth, even slower than it came in, the way the first warmth of a new season comes in slow and unhurried, and asks nothing of you but to receive it. You do not have to rush the thaw. You are not behind. You have not missed your spring by being slow to feel it. The spring does not arrive any faster for the anxious than it does for the peaceful. It arrives in its own time, and its time is mine, and I have never once in all of history been late to a single sunrise. I will not be late to yours. The winter is past. The frost does not get to keep you. The bare branch is not the final truth. The season changed, but I stayed. The warmth will return because I am faithful. Your winter is a season, not a sentence, and I am the Father who stays. Amen. If this devotional reached the place in you that has been bracing for the cold to last forever, leave the word "stays" in the comments so you remember the Father did not leave when the warmth did. There are 7 free letters waiting in the pinned comment above, one for each of the next 7 days. Take them. Share this with someone standing in their own long winter, and follow along so the next word reaches you. You were never meant to wait out the season alone.